With me now is Bloomberg Opinion's senior columnist, Tim O'Brien. Hey, Tim, I want to talk more about this relief package, specifically the partisan split here. It is very popular. More than 3/4 of Americans support it. What is the disconnect between Republicans in Washington and how their constituents feel? How do Republicans justify rejecting the aid package?
Well, I think there's a classic argument here from conservatives that a minimum wage unfairly burdened small businesses that would go out of business or struggle if they had to meet a higher wage requirement. You certainly could create a minimum wage bill that has carve-outs for low-income areas, poorer communities, small businesses, et cetera, if you really wanted to get done. I think what both parties have to come to terms with, and I think what we as a country have to come to terms with, is the economic implications of income inequality. There's all sorts of social justice issues associated with that. But the reality is the United States economy has thrived for decades because we have the biggest middle class in the world. And a middle class that is a consumer class needs good wages to continue buying things. That results in stronger revenues and better profit margins for big companies and small companies if people can consume more. And if they can't, then profitability will suffer. And you're also going to get social divisions that we've seen in our politics now really blossom over the last 2 decades. A portion of that, an important portion of that, stems from income inequality. So we've got to get our arms around this. Corporate profitability has rebounded since COVID landed. The stock market has rebounded since COVID landed. But wage growth hasn't enough, especially for low and middle income workers. And if we can't do that through a minimum wage policy or a minimum wage bill, I think we're going to have to find other ways to deal with it.
What do you think those other ways could be? And I got to tell you, Tim, the way that you lay it out is not a way that I hear advocates laying it out frequently in Washington. It's a very compelling case.
It's unfortunate they don't lay it out this way. We all benefit from an economy that enfranchises everyone, and people can still get wealthy in this country. People can still take home lots of savings and do very well. No one is going to get beggared by a more robust minimum wage policy. I don't know why the argument's not framed that way, Tim. I think people should, but I think what ultimately came up in terms of the politics of this is Democrats didn't believe they could get a COVID-19 stimulus plan through with a minimum wage component embedded inside of it, regardless of what the Senate parliamentarian decided. She said it wasn't in keeping with a bill of this nature, which is fine. But if the White House really wanted to, they could have overridden that. I think there's a real politique calculation here on the Biden White House's part that they don't want to sacrifice everything in this bill to keep a minimum wage bill afloat inside of it, or a minimum wage policy afloat inside the broader bill. And that's the decision they've made.
Hey, Tim, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the future of the Republican Party. I want to play a little bit of what Trump had to say at CPAC yesterday, in case you weren't watching the 90-minute thing from beginning to end. Oh, we do not have that right now. Well, fortunately, many of us did see a big part of it. Specifically, I want to talk about the idea of him pushing back on that Wall Street Journal report from a few weeks ago that said that he was going to form a third party. He said, probably realistically, that if he formed a third party, it would actually tear the Republican Party apart. So I wonder about the direction of the Republican Party now, because it looks like Trump isn't going anywhere. He's not going to form his own party. And it does seem like in January, Republicans who rejected President Trump and in February during impeachment did not get as far as they thought they would.
Well, I think, Donald Trump already has torn the Republican Party apart. And I don't think if he was serious about establishing a separate party, I don't think the reason he wouldn't do it would because it would tear the Republicans apart. It's because I don't think he's a viable person to lead a third party here. I just don't think it's very hard to establish a third party in this country. And I think Trump has lost some political traction, despite the fact that the most conservative wing of the Republican Party still backs him. CPAC did a straw poll yesterday. There were some interesting numbers in that from attendees at CPAC. 32% of the respondents to that poll said they did not want Trump to be the standard bearer of the party in 2024. That's an interesting number because CPAC is the most MAGA of Trump supporters in the party, and almost a third of them didn't want him to be the standard bearer. So I think we have to think about what the cult of personality that surrounds Trump really means within the Republican Party. What kind of legs does it have? Having said that, there's no question that Trumpism has legs. And I think what Republicans who continue to support him in the wake of 2 impeachments and the January 6th insurrection have discovered is that misinformation and lying to the American public and fanning divisions through racism and such allows you to acquire power. And part of the party right now is fascinated with and devoted to acquiring power for power's sake, apart from classic conservative policy positions like a hawkish foreign policy, fiscal probity, the rule of law. They're not arguing for policy right now. What they're arguing about is a fantasy world that Donald Trump showed them they can create for their voters. And if they were serious about helping working class Americans, you would see those folks actually embrace a minimum wage policy, for example. Why aren't they? While at the same time, they're embracing these wild lies that have led to a lot of cohesion for a portion of the Republican Party. The dangerous thing is what happens to the party as a whole with that dynamic in play. And we'll have to wait and see on that, I think.
And Tim, the President Trump saying that he will decide, well, saying that he's going to take an active role in 2022. And look, by all means, he's already, by all measures, he's already done that just in the last few days, endorsing somebody who's running against a Republican, somebody who's challenging a Republican who voted for the impeachment of the president. I do wonder what this means about him in 2024. Does it look like at this point, and look, I know there's many years between now and then, but you've studied Trump for a very long time. Does it look like he's going to be a kingmaker, or does it look like he's really serious about getting back to being president again?
Well, I think 2 things are front of mind for him: continuing to wreak havoc or revenge on members of his party and Democrats who voted for impeachment and didn't buy his lies about the 2020 election being rigged. So revenge is part of this. Monetization is part of this. He knows that as he stays in the public eye, he can continue to run rallies and do other things that actually fall into his wallet before they fall into any universe of policy prescriptions he cares about. So I think those are front of mind for him more than anything else. I don't know how serious he is about 2024. He's going to be older. He's got some law challenges with the law he's going to have to overcome first, and challenges in his business he's going to have to overcome first. So as you note, Tim, a lot could change. But I think right now he's more than happy to continue to throw sand in the machinery because it keeps him in the spotlight. Tim
O'Brien, Bloomberg Opinion senior columnist. Tim, we got to leave it there. Always great to chat with you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for taking the time.